Well, hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Exceptional Living. You know that our goal is always to inform, to inspire, and to ignite the greatness that lives in you. And we have a special guest. We have what I like to call exceptional conversations with thought leaders, innovators, creatives from around the world to learn life changing concepts and strategic insights, practical and intentional strategies and tactics, but all proven from, again, local and global thought leaders and innovators, creatives, and just brilliance. Brilliance. And today will be no exception. And it's all to the end of equipping and empowering you for credible influence, distinguishable competency, and indelible impact. So, in this world where we're conditioned to fit in, know that you, yes, you, were created to stand out, to be exceptional, unique by design. I'm so excited to welcome our special guest, Yemi Akinsiwaju. Yemi is a multi-gifted international speaker, leadership consultant, and author. He's focused on the crucial issues of leadership, personal transformation, organizational effectiveness, social and spiritual development. He has a deep passion for enhancing the leadership effectiveness and capacity of individuals and enterprises. He serves on several boards and is consultant for major United Kingdom based and international organizations. Yemi is a trustee of the International Third World Leadership Association, among many others. He is the author of 4 highly acclaimed books: The Leadership Jigsaw, Transforming Mystery into Mastery, for which it was forwarded and written by his mentor, the late global statesman, Dr. Miles Monroe. Yemi is known as the leadership catalyst, and he has shared his ideas in effective leadership with thousands of people from over 50 nations as conference speaker, leadership trainer, seminar facilitator, mentor, coach, and made several television and radio appearances. So, Exceptional Living, please welcome our very special guest, Yemi Akinsiwaju. Yemi,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you so much, April. It's a tremendous pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the privilege.
Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor. And, for all the things sometimes we talk about technology on, the fact that we're able to be with you in the United Kingdom from the US, and for those who are watching around the world, this is amazing. I love it. So thank you for doing this. Well, Yemi, I'm really excited today because, I've heard you speak, I've heard you share about leadership, um, and I want other people to hear what I've heard. And so I know that it will also be transformative in their lives as well. As you know, our show is about how to live an exceptional life, something that is unique, something that stands out, stands above the ordinary and the average, because none of us are ordinary or average. We weren't created to be that way. And so thank you for being a part of the show with us today. Yemi, tell us, what do you think exceptional living means?
Well, thank you very much, April. I love your topic. I love your show. I've watched, a number of the episodes and some of the fantastic, phenomenal leaders that you've had to be on your show. And so, for me, it is a tremendous privilege, really, to be able to again share some insights with your audience. Now, to the topic, what do I consider to be exceptional living? I guess, in a nutshell, it would be living a life where you have discovered your I am, as it were. You have discovered your raison d'etre, the reason for being, and you are actively pursuing that in service to humanity and in the fulfillment of that which our Creator has put within you. Exceptional living really is a life that transcends just what you want to accomplish for yourself. Exceptional living to me is seeing beyond your own personal needs to the contributions you can make, the impact you can make to bring transformation to an arena of life in which you have been placed. Now, that arena of life can be your local community, It can be your family. It can be a business enterprise. It can be your nation. And in cases like yourself, it can be to our world, you know, through transformative work. And so exceptional living really encapsulates all of those potent ideas, as it were.
So, Yemi, you are known as the leadership catalyst.
Indeed.
And even in those words, exceptional living stands out. What does it mean to be a catalyst? And then what does it mean to be a leadership catalyst?
Thank you so much, April. Now, the catalyst, I kind of got my first taste of what a catalyst is when I was going through secondary school and in the chemistry laboratory. you know, and when your first experience of this, where your teacher says, "Oh, there are these two chemicals. They're in there. Put a drop of this reactant into it." And you put this little drop in there, and suddenly it explodes, it ignites. You're thinking, my goodness, and everybody gets all excited. And in a way that sort of encapsulates the idea of what I believe I'm called to be as a catalyst. I realized that every human, and this is something that my mentor, who you mentioned earlier, late Dr. Miles Monroe, really taught me, taught many of us, taught you. And it's something I subscribe to wholly, and that is the fact that every human is born to be a leader. Each one of us carries things on the inside of us that enable us to live exceptionally, to contribute significant things to humanity at large. And so all of us contain all of these array or plethora of giftings and attributes and capabilities. However, for many of us, something is lacking that helps us ignite that leadership potential on the inside of us. That a plethora of gifts and capabilities and assets that our Creator has deposited within us. And that is where someone like me comes in as a catalyst. We come in, and through something that we deposit into the life of those that I engage with, it might be a word, it might be a teaching, it might be a friendship, it might be a workshop that I share in. But something comes that I deposit into that individual's life and ignites the leadership potential that's already on the inside of them. Because what I realize is that I can't really cause anybody to be a leader. You can't cause anyone to be a leader. They were born to lead. All they simply need to do is discover their own gifting and then have it ignited so that they can now become all that they were actually born to be. And that really is what a leadership catalyst is.
I love it. A leadership catalyst ignites because we were born to lead.
Absolutely.
Right? We know the song, Yemi.
Absolutely.
You'll have to Google the song. Was the song that Dr. Moore will often sing.
Yep.
You're born to lead.
Born to lead.
And I remember chemistry. That's why when you said you add the drops, you go, because boil or fizzle or change color.
Yep.
So in that, Yemi, you talk about depositing something that is all something from another into someone who has, in chemistry, I know our chemistry teachers are going, yes, they learned. Elements. So it's about elements, right? The periodic table is about elements. So each of us, we look at as kind of being an element. And many of us, you have to, there's something that, or someone, usually, when God wants to do something in our lives, he places a person, right? Most people will say, well, tell me about your life story. And I'll say, well, someone said, or someone encouraged me. So there's always a person. So here is this leadership catalyst, Yemi, who comes along and sees someone or someone's with the potential, right? Because of how we were created, but recognizing that they need a deposit of something. And speaking of Dr. Monroe, you'd always talk to us about the precept before the concept, right? These thoughts and how powerful ideas and thoughts are.
Absolutely.
So here comes the leadership catalyst, Yemi, who deposits a thought that says, no matter what your race or ethnic group is, your gender, or your socioeconomic uh, circumstance at present, you were born to be a leader.
Absolutely.
And that deposit that informs has now inspired me, but goes into a different level and to ignite what was there and to transform me
Yeah.
into something beyond what I could imagine prior to the deposit that the catalyst made. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. But that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of living. I mean, is that we as a community, as a world house, can make positive change through what we deposit and
Yeah.
encourage and inspire in others. So, Yemi, you talked about leadership and you've done extensive work in leadership training and development, not just in your books, but also in seminars. What are some of the traits that you found in persons who have discovered their leadership gift and the spirit of leadership? What tell us about those traits? How can we look out for them? Can we have those traits? Can we develop them, or are we just naturally endowed with them by the gods?
Thank you very much, April.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's an absolutely brilliant question. It's a question that I often encounter when I go, to seminars and workshops. The the truth of the matter is that many of us already carry many of these latent gifts. For many of us, they're simply dormant. For many of us, we don't realize the value of those particular elements in our lives until someone actually points them out to us. In fact, that's one of the things that I cover in my book, The Leadership Jigsaw. And the Leadership Jigsaw makes the point that when you see a picture, uh, it enables you to work out the missing elements within that picture. And then you now go out and you find the little elements that now come together to make the full picture. And so some of those key traits or characteristics that makes for the effective leader, really, one is they have a sense of purpose. It starts with that, really. Every effective leader that I've ever met has a sense of purpose that ignites a conviction in their heart that for this I was born. They have that purpose that uh, then translates, as it were, into a vision that they pursue actively with their lives. One other thing that they have is they have a servant heart. Every true leader is committed to service for the benefit of others. Sometimes you find out that some people say, "Oh, I want to be a leader because I want to, I want to be the manager of my organization, or I want to be a political leader because I want to rule over people. I want to make money out of that leadership." You find out that when people pursue leadership with that mindset, oftentimes the impact of their leadership is actually quite destructive. And so we're talking about somebody who is a true leader, an effective leader, is one who has, like I said, a sense of purpose. They have a sense of compassion. They have a sense of righteousness. And I use the word righteousness not in the sense of a religious term, but especially in the world we live in today, they have a sense of what is right and what is wrong. Which brings us to the other element, which is that they have a sense of courage of their convictions. Uh, in the world we live in today, you find out that there are people who will tell you white is black, left is right, up is down. And so the leader of today must be somebody who has a sense of what is right and what is wrong. There are precepts and absolutes that have stood the test of time. And so a true leader in this day and age must be one who has the courage of their convictions to stand against the tide of popular opinion if that is what it demands. And so such a leader must have courage. Now, that courage must also empower them to be able to pursue the vision that is on the inside of their heart. Because the truth of the matter is, when you begin to pursue a vision, a worthy cause, a worthy endeavor, challenges will arise. Situations will crop up which you didn't plan for. And therefore, you need courage to be able to withstand those moments of challenge, of crisis, to be able to reach further, to do what you were called to do. One final thing I would say is true leaders have a compassion for others. That is born out of their willingness to serve, but also a compassion that goes beyond self aggrandizement, self achievement, self accomplishment, but a sense of compassion for bringing change, positive transformation into the lives of others. In fact, it is said that every great leader is not committed to raising followers, but committed to raising other followers who discover their purpose and live out their purpose effectively. And only a leader with a heart of compassion really has a commitment to helping others ignite their own leadership potential.
Well, leaders have a sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
So it's knowing who they are starts with identity.
Definitely.
That I love you said this. You said, "For this I was born," you know, and that for many great leaders, male and female, they discover themselves and say, "This is why I was born. This is what I'm here on earth for." And we know many great leaders. We certainly have referenced, Dr. Monroe, his Mother Teresa. There's many others, President Mandela, Dr. Martin Luther King. We could go on and on the list. So, Yemi, here's the thing: is a question that often people ask. It's like, okay, yes, I know what I'm here to do. I'm passionate about it. I know that it's going to help transform others. It's going to make positive impact in my community. But what happens when no one else sees it? I go to my friends, family, because when something good happens, you do, and they're like, Yemi, nobody in our family has ever done that. What makes you think that you're going to come out of this, or you're going to be able to do this? You don't have money. This is your race. You're born a woman. You're too young. You're too old. What makes you think that you can do that? Because often, we get excited once we discover, but then we go into this space, as you said, it's almost like it's a system of where we talk about cultivation, Yemi, right? The seed goes in the ground.
Absolutely.
The majority of it happens beneath ground in the dirty, the dark, the damp place. But if it doesn't happen there to where the seed can get its roots, its system of infiltration and nurture, nothing will grow above it. So what happens in the seed and the root is what determines the shoot. So we get excited, we go into the ground, we're like, this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden, we face other people. What does one do in the midst of that? What are some of the things you would tell us?
Well, thank you so much, April. Every great leader has gone through the challenge you just described. But the beauty of a sense of purpose or a sense of vision is that there's a passage of scripture that I love, which says, "Deep calls unto deep." The power of that statement is that as much as your vision is driving you, that vision is also being called by the vision that somebody else is carrying. And so you find out that there are people who may not necessarily be within your immediate circle, who would see what you're carrying. But it may be somebody that you listen to on TV, somebody you listen to on a seminar, somebody in your local church, somebody in your school, somebody in your business, but someone says something with whom you resonate. It may be somebody's book that you read. I remember, for instance, when I was growing up, because I grew up in Nigeria, and I remember reading Dr. Monroe's book, his book In Pursuit of Purpose. And that book ignited something on the inside of me. And when I read that book, I said to myself, I will get to meet this man someday. Now, I believe that because on the inside of me, my purpose is being the leadership catalyst. Now, there were other books I had read, there were other leaders I had seen, but something in his book called to the deep within me. And the rest, as they say, is history. The journey of my life kind of navigated all the way through the trials and tribulations, the challenges, left Nigeria, came to the UK. In the UK, my life took different twists and turns until at some point I connected with Dr. Monroe. In the same way, I believe that once you have a sense of your purpose, it begins to resonate at a certain frequency, as it were, that calls onto those with whom you are meant to connect. That's how you and I got to meet. You have a passion for leadership. You have a passion for igniting transformation in other people's lives. Something calls to you when you spoke to Dr. Monroe, when you saw his teaching, when you listened to him, just like it calls to me whilst I was in the depths of Africa, you know. And from that, you and I met and we connected. And as we began to talk, it began to resonate. I have conversations with you that I don't have with people who are with me in the UK. Okay. And there are people all around me in the UK because the sense of purpose that we carry, it resonates. And that is what will happen. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever circumstance of life that you're in right now, there is someone somewhere. There's something that you have read, someone you have listened to that sort of resonates with you. What you simply do is keep tapping into that connection, whether it's through their books. And what you find out is that as you begin to do that and you set a deliberate intention, at some point you will get to connect with people who would help propel you forward in the fulfillment of that purpose.
So true, Yemi. Deep calls to deep.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of a book by Seth Godin called Tribes. And he talks about that there are different tribes. And often we perceive tribes as being exclusive, like keeping people out. But it actually helps kind of create this nucleus, this cell, this community, as you shared. And interestingly enough, as you were talking about Dr. Monroe, he was your leadership catalyst.
Absolutely.
And the power. And he often talked about, whether you can physically, connect with that person. You're in Nigeria, he's in the Bahamas, I'm in the US, but through books, through messages. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I wish I could meet this person. If only I could meet this person. You can meet the person through a book.
Absolutely.
You can meet them through, other forms of social media now.
Definitely.
And it does. It's you kind of click. It's like a chemistry. We're going back to chemistry class. Yeah, I mean, there is something that's ignited when you're with your tribe. And again, a tribe is not to be exclusive or to keep people out, but it's more of a commonality of purpose. So I'm not just speaking of people. There are tribes around the world. It's clans, different names, but we do have conversations that are about leadership and development and, with leaders and influencing policymakers, those in education, community leaders, faith leaders, because that's the tribe we discovered. We connected, something resonated with us from a deposit that was made by a leadership catalyst that catapulted us into discovery of purpose. Compassion of heart, righteousness, knowing what is right and wrong, but also a conviction. Conviction when it's not convenient, conviction when it's not the correct, politically trending, at oftentimes potential being misunderstood.
Absolutely.
But leaders often are. I remember Dr. Bernice King, who's the daughter of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She was a few years back, Time Magazine, one of our large magazine publications here in the U.S., had a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., her father, on the cover. The architect, 21st century. So they're going back to talk about his speeches, and doing some work at the King Center over several years. I remember hearing her say that people forget that my father was one of the most hated men during his day. So
Indeed.
now we sit back and go, oh, and not just to highlight him, there's other leaders that are like that, right? Now we sit back and say, oh, women getting the right to vote, civil rights, workers, to workers, compensation or unions to protect the rights of workers, and different things that have come along to help protect the dignity of those, or even people who aren't able to work, different subsidies and things like that. But at the time that people stood up to stand out, to speak out, it was not popular.
Yeah, it wasn't popular.
It was not loved. And as leaders, that's also some of, he talks about in his book, The Burden of Freedom. That's some of the burden or the test, the trial that you go through. Yemi, I know that you've experienced this in some way, whether personally or the people that you consult, the boards that you serve on. How does a leader get past that? How do we get past that feeling, or hold on, I should say, to the conviction that we have for this I was born?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, April. Two things I will say to that. First is internal. The second is external. Internal in the sense that at some point, as we've just mentioned, you have to develop or cultivate intestinal fortitude, guts. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's just the grind. You just have to be totally focused, be intentional about the fact that I know that I am right, and truth has the capacity to defend itself. And so, with the courage of that conviction,
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. You have to repeat that again. Truth has
the capacity to defend itself.
Love it.
So, and once you are anchored in the truth, you stand on that truth without moving. So that is where the guts and the courage of your convictions has to come in. So that is the internal part. Now, the external part is that every one of us must have people in our lives who are able to stand along with us, to encourage, to support us in times of challenge. One of my pets, I guess, peeves is when I hear someone say, oh, this person is a self-made millionaire or a self-made successful person. Anytime I hear that, I think that is either arrogance or ignorance. Because the truth of the matter is there's no such thing as a self-made anything. Every one of us at some point needs someone who would encourage us to stand in the furnace of adversity. Every one of us needs somebody who would encourage us to stand the onslaught of criticism, the onslaught of other people's negative comments, especially in this day and age of social media, where people can take something you say completely out of context. And before you know it, it has traveled around the world. And so you find out that is it really worth your time and effort trying to correct people's quotes or misunderstanding of what it is that you have said and stuff like that? Once you know that you are anchored in truth, and you have, as you put it, a tribe of people who understands you, understands your heart, and are alongside you for this journey. Sometimes, people say, "Oh, it's lonely at the top." Uh, I think it's only lonely at the top if you have chosen to make that journey by yourself.
Mm.
But if you have determined to come alongside others and be part of that journey together, you will have people who will encourage you through the tough times. You and I, those of us within the Itwala community, we've had challenges, you know, and in those moments of challenges, it was being together, being able to encourage and support one another that brought us through those challenges. And so that is really a microcosm of what should happen in every leader's life. We need one, two, three people who can speak into our lives, encourage us in those dark moments of life. And so if you find yourself as a leader where you think things are so bad, and I guess in a way that's why it's very unfortunate when you hear of people committing suicide. And it in a way it breaks my heart when you hear those kind of sad stories, because it means that at some point they have ignored the principle of relationship. Every great leader cultivates relationships that strengthens them, that empowers them, not just for the good times, but especially for the bad times. And the way to do that is to be there in the bad times of others, knowing that life is cyclical. Everyone goes through challenges. So when you're there in the bad times for others, then at least you're positioned to be able to call on others when your own difficult seasons of life arise.
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, it goes back into what you were speaking of earlier when we were talking about catalyst and making the deposit. We were talking about seed, and cultivation is
Absolutely.
something that is not easy to us. It's intentional, it's
Mhm.
arduous, but cultivating relationships, and we certainly know the importance of relationships. It's how I relate to each other, to another person, or how we relate to each other, but it does have to be cultivated.
Oh, definitely.
And it makes me think of the ant. We're edging into cooler weather. It'll be cooler
Mhm.
weather soon, but the ant has been busy, always busy, in warm weather, gathering. He's preparing for what is to come. And so when you talk about relationships, it's not just the opportunity to meet this person or connect with this person for this moment.
Mhm.
Cultivation speaks more really to a relationship. It is developing and maintaining and building on that relationship. You talk about people to stand with you. People, first of all, being internal, you have to have some gut, some grit. Angela Duckworth calls it grit. Uh,
Definitely.
Interesting because I saw this as the title of a book, and being raised in the southern part of the U.S., we always talk about having grit in
Great.
your. Okay, so what, you guys know I'm from the South, so this is grit in your craw. You have to have this fortitude to press through and to do it in spite of. President Mandela says that courage is not the absence of fear, but it is the willingness to go forward even in it, to face it.
In spite of your fail.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely. And one thing I would add to that is this,
Yeah.
a sense of vision,
Hmm.
I think, is also a powerful key to being able to overcome those challenging moments. Because once you have a sense of vision and you recognize that whatever you're going through now can only be temporary,
Yes.
say, once you understand that this too shall pass,
Mhm.
in a way, I always say that vision contextualizes your past, it empowers your present, and it propels you for the future. And so that sense of vision is also a unique element that every effective leader has, because they know that, yes, this is a difficult situation, this is a different challenge, but this is not what I saw. So I know that this that I'm going through must give way to that which I saw in my vision.
Yes. 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 Yemi. And we know that we're not exposed. God is not exposed us to what He doesn't intend for us to
Definitely.
manifest. And when you talked about people to stand with you, there are people who have been assigned to you and you've been assigned to them to help cultivate the relationship, but to vision, because vision actually, purpose, going back, Dr. Moreau's definition of leadership, but it's that purpose that brings the conviction. The vision keeps it in focus. So you say, okay, the detour, the sign is telling me to go this way, but my vision shows me on the other end of town. So even if I have to detour, even there's some delays, I'm getting to the other side of town.
Most definitely.
The wisest man that lived said what? He said that a friend loves at all times.
At all times.
But it's the brother, it's the sister that is born
For
for
adversity.
And that's what you were talking about when you talk about external, that level, that a brother, a sister is with you in the bad times, because everybody's with you in the good times, right? Oh, Yemi.
Tell me about it.
It's like, I knew Yemi when we were in Nigeria together. I knew him.
Yep.
You haven't seen these people in 20, 30 years, but once you make it, they all come, right? But it's those persons that have been with you, that have stuck with you. And so, yes, in life, we have to be internally strong. And we have to be externally strong. So it is insulation and not isolation. Yemi, you were talking about that, over COVID, many people begin to isolate themselves from other people. And certainly at a certain point you had to, right? So you weren't spreading the virus, but it was available to us, different platforms like this that could still keep us insulated, connected through phone, through different platforms like this, FaceTime and the like, Zooms and things. And that was important for connection, because humans were built for connection. We were built for relationship.
We're social animals, as they say.
Yes, we're social animals. Absolutely. And, coming together, we've heard Dr. Pepe Ramnath, he talked about the interleukin-6, this chemical that's released when people are together. And when the absence of that chemical is there, you go into this kind of cave, this
downward spiral.
So, Yemi, the leadership catalyst, what else would you share with us looking forward? You talked about your vision prepares you for the future. What would you say to someone who's looking now to say, okay, how do I plan for my future? What do I need to know? This is what I'm born for, but what else do I need in order to get towards that vision that I see? What else do I need? Is there any tools, some specific things I need to know? Share with us.
Great question, April. I guess we live in a rapidly changing world. And as somebody once said, there's no point in being prepared for a world that no longer exists. And so with the state of change that is upon us, the one thing I would always encourage your audience to bear in mind is to maintain an attitude of flexibility. The vision does not change. The tools, the methodologies, the approach to reach it will probably need to change because some of the things, tools, ideas that we used to apply probably a month, a year ago, some of them are becoming rapidly obsolete. That is the very nature of change and the pace of change that is upon us. So the first thing I would say is commit to never-ending improvement. Commit to never-ending learning and growth and development. These kind of sessions of exceptional living with Dr. April Ripley is a great place, to do that, to learn ideas and tools and new things that are coming up to equip you for the ever-changing world that is upon us. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would also say is this: commit to personal excellence in whatever field of endeavor you're in. And by that, I mean you must be willing to learn deep and learn wide. The days of being such a specialist in one field that you are no longer interested in anything else outside of that, I think are over. Because our world is so integrated now. There's a principle called the butterfly effect, which simply says that A butterfly can, flap its wings in Brazil, and you get a hurricane in Lagos, Nigeria. Why? Because of the impact, the multiplier effect of even simple changes that are happening in different areas around the world, especially with the interconnectedness of technology. And so each and every one of us must commit to personal excellence, personal growth, personal development in a different spheres of life that we have been placed, but also be willing to broaden our minds, broaden our horizons to see what is happening in the world around us. Innovation and creativity is coming from so many different spheres around the world. One of my examples that I love is, for instance, the uh, Formula One. My understanding is that the braking uh, system that is used in Formula One cars were actually developed from the hydraulic braking system of aeroplanes. Now, if someone said, "Oh, I only do Formula One, I only learn what happens in Formula One," they would have lost out on the opportunity to be able to tap in to the knowledge of those who are in avionics and the aeroplane building systems. So, in the same way, you and I and everyone who intends to be an effective leader must commit now to not just learning deep in a particular sphere of activity, but also now be committed to broadening our horizons. I love the fact that the point you mentioned earlier, April, about the fact that you you not only engage with or interview people who are local to you, leaders in your particular sphere of activity, but you also engage with leaders from around the world. Why? Because there's a lot of innovation and creativity that's happening all around us. So many different spheres, different insights, different perspectives that are coming to the table now globally. And so each and every one of us, if we're going to be effective going forward, overcoming the challenges of our present day situation, we will need to tap into ideas, principles, precepts, concepts that are emerging from different areas around the world, and then adapt those to the different particular challenges we are facing in our own individual contexts.
Absolutely. Yemi, to think that during these past few years, we had to socially distance, and yet technology made that distance seemingly borderless.
Absolutely.
It's somewhat of an oxymoron.
Mhm.
you
It
know,
is. Now,
I-
the amazing thing, if you think about it,
mhm.
probably about 3 years ago, uh, we've attended conferences and events and seminars. If anyone had said to us, "Oh, let's have this conference via the internet," everyone would have said to you, "Are you out of your mind?" you know,
Right.
we always have our conferences in person.
Person.
But as I said, necessity is the mother of invention. And
Yes.
of course, once COVID came and it imposed this change upon us,
Mhm.
now there are some meetings that I go, they'll say to you, "We can't see ourselves having to come back to do this in person any longer
Yes. Yes.
because it's
Work
so
as well. Yemi,
convenient."
work as well. Remote work. People are, and that has created a tension. So some
Definitely, it certainly
leaders
has.
have to, I love you said, be flexible, be adaptable, be agile, be able to
Yeah,
pivot, learning deep and learning wide, but also being able to courageously, and you spoke to this, go into the areas of tension. So now we have a bit of tension. At first it was, I can't work from home. Now it's, I don't want to go back to
you
work.
don't want to go back into
So
it.
managers are wrestling with this, and some companies have given, you know, you shall come back to work or you will not have a job. But again, even in that, people are finding other means of income earning with different opportunities and knowledge that technology has given to us. And
Definitely.
we talk about the butterfly effect. We talk about even the world of finance, which the world. I don't know if you remember that. Yes, you may remember that year. They had the Global Millionaire Roundtable at the conference,
Yeah.
and they were talking about globalization, right? This whole question of, is it good? Is it bad?
Hmm.
There really wasn't an absolute because it is what it is,
It is
right?
what it is.
Navigating the water, some charted and some uncharted territories. But we go into currency. What we know as a commerce is currency, an exchange of value, whether it's physical dollars or bills, coins, to digital currencies, not just crypto. That's a different space. But even now, not having any cash circulating. Yemi, to where if I want to get your book, I simply just tap, the funds go over. There's different apps. So all of these things came about because of the need, that mother of invention, as you said, came into play. So, Yemi, in all of this, with the catalyst, with learning deep and wide, the innovation and creativity, what things, if you had to look at maybe two or three things that have really guided your life, and even maybe continue to guide your life? So not just up until now, but these may also be things that you still hold to that continue to guide your life, even moving forward. What would those be?
Well, those three things for me are: one, faith in God.
Yeah.
I am at an age now where uh, somebody turning around and telling me there's no God is already too late. I've had enough experience of life and the vicissitudes of life to understand very clearly that there is a God who cares for us as human beings and has a plan for us to enjoy life on earth, really, and to release the deposit that He has placed on the inside of us for the benefit of humanity. So for me, faith in God has been absolutely crucial in the journey of life when difficult situations have arisen. That faith in God has been an anchor that has kept me rock steady to be able to overcome many of those challenges. I remember sometime last year, I got news that my younger brother passed away. And that news shook me to the core of my being. And yet, in the midst of all of that, that faith in God, that sense of knowing that because he loved God, he served Jesus Christ the way I did, knowing that he has gone to a better place, that assurance that he's in a better place served as an anchor for me, not to fall apart, as it were. And the different challenges of life and the situations of life, my faith in God has been a totally important, crucial element in my life. The second is the discovery of purpose. Once I understood that I was born to be the leadership catalyst, to inspire, ignite leadership transformation in the lives of people, that really was a game changer for me. And it continues to galvanize me, really, to touch lives, to impact them, to be the change that they need in the times of challenge and tribulation that they may be facing. If I can say a word, if I can give an insight, if I can share a thought that will help propel them from the darkness of despair or a lack of clarity or confusion to propel them forward to be all that they can be, then my job is done. That gives me joy. And finally, love. Love for my family, love for my friends like April, love for my church family, love for people. For me, that's really been, uh, I guess, the driving force really that underpins everything else that I do. Love for God, love for man, love for the fulfillment of my purpose. And so those three things really, I would say, are the key elements.
Absolutely. God is love.
Yeah.
And to say that you don't love is not like God. So God is the ultimate example of love. He loves us when we do well. He loves us when we make
Right.
the wrong choice. He loves us so much, Yemi. He gives us the ability to make our choices.
Absolutely.
And that is love. And I know
Definitely.
your parents or work with young people, often you want to say, no, you don't do this. And we guide them, right? So he lovingly, because of his loves, he says, do this, you'll prosper. Do this, you'll live long. But
Yep.
sometimes when you see people going in a way that you know the end will not be so good, it is your love still for them, as you said, for mankind, that you say, I'm still going to love you. And maybe I am that brother that's born for adversity,
Indeed.
but love a purpose, because purpose is that guiding force. It is the conviction that you have. It is also part of your identity. For this I was born. Thank you, Yemi, for all of the sage insights that you shared today as the leadership catalyst. And I know that our audience has certainly gained some life-changing concepts for transformation, some insights, tactics, tools that you have used, experience that you've had and shared with us. We say thank you for
Thank you.
being a part of exceptional living and adding to this transformative conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you very much, April.
our
It's
regard.
certainly been my pleasure and my
Yes,
privilege. I mean, there is a resource that perhaps your audience might be interested in.
certainly.
It's available on my website. You go to yemiakinsiwaju.com/leadership success.
Mhm.
It's a simple ebook, and it simply says 7 big mistakes that leaders inadvertently make. And when you read it, you realize that many of the challenges that leaders, aspiring leaders, or emerging leaders, and even experienced leaders make often falls within those 7 big mistakes. So hopefully your audience will find it beneficial. It's yemiakinshiwaju.com/leadership success.
Okay.
So
Yes, here it is. There is their website there, Akinsiwaju, right? And
yeah,
you can go there, click around, whatever it is that Yemi has on his website, you need to be involved. Purchase it, download it, attend it, however you can. I promise you it will be life-changing.
absolutely.
And there's a website there. You've seen the social media handle throughout the program. But again, Yemi, thank you so much for being a part of Exceptional Living. You have made a significant contribution, not only to our show, but certainly to all who have heard you today. So thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, April.
And
It's
God
been my
bless you.
honor. And
Thank
you
you.
too. God bless you.
Thank you. Everyone, today's show has been amazing, awe-inspired, inspired, provocative, pensive, reflective, transformative, and certainly catalytic, as we have had our special guest, the Leadership Catalyst. I want to thank you for joining our program today. Please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember that you were created to be exceptional, unique by design. And so here at Exceptional Living, that is our goal: to inform, to inspire, and to ignite the greatness that lies within each of you. Thank you for joining us. God bless.